Sometimes life changes in a single moment, so fast, so unexpectedly, that it steals the breath right out of your chest. For a man named Michael, that moment happened on an ordinary weekday afternoon, with a broken broom still in his hands. And for a little girl named Emma, it was the moment her silent world shook with a sound she never knew she'd been missing. But no one, absolutely no one, expected the person who changed her life forever to be the janitor everyone walked past without a second glance. Before we jump in, if you love stories that warm your heart and restore your faith in humanity, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Lights. Your support helps us share more real, emotional, uplifting stories that remind the world that kindness still matters. Michael had worked as a janitor at Silver Oak Academy for nearly 15 years. He wasn't wealthy, he wasn't powerful, and he wasn't the kind of person people noticed when they walked by. But he was gentle, patient, and kind, especially with the students. He knew every child by name, except one. Emma Kingston. Everyone in town knew who she was, the daughter of billionaire tech entrepreneur Benjamin Kingston. Emma had been born deaf, and though she had the brightest, softest smile, she lived in a world without sound. She communicated through sign language and written notes, and she always seemed a little lonely, like she lived behind a glass window she couldn't quite break through. Michael noticed her in the hallways. She always looked at his hands while he swept, fascinated by the rhythm. And every time he caught her watching, she'd blush and hurry away. He wished he could do more for her, but he didn't know how. One afternoon, while emptying trash bins near the art room, Michael heard, or rather felt, a strange buzzing sound. The air conditioner was rattling again. He sighed and pulled a small flashlight from his pocket. That thing had been acting up for weeks. When he stepped inside, he saw Emma sitting alone, painting. She didn't hear him enter, so he moved slowly, not wanting to startle her. But suddenly she winced and clutched her ear, not in pain, but in confusion. She looked uncomfortable. Michael gently waved to get her attention. She turned, her blue eyes wide. He pointed to his ear, then to hers, asking silently, "Are you okay?" Emma shook her head and pointed to the inside of her right ear. Then she made a motion like something was stuck. Michael wasn't a doctor, but he was a dad. He had 2 daughters who shoved things in their ears when they were 5 and 6. Tiny beads, pieces of eraser, once even a peanut. He crouched down and motioned, asking permission. Emma hesitated, then nodded carefully. Michael tilted her head toward the window light. And then he froze. There was something in her ear. Something dark. Thin. Coiled. But it wasn't a bead or a pebble. It was plastic. It almost looked like a tiny piece of a broken device. Michael gently angled her head again and saw the other ear had a matching piece. His heart kicked. Not in fear, but in disbelief. Because he recognized it. Benjamin Kingston had once given a speech about early intervention hearing devices. Experimental prototypes. Tiny inserts never approved for clinical use. Michael remembered the headline, "Kingston's tech could rewire hearing signals in babies born deaf." Was Emma part of that experiment? Michael swallowed hard. He didn't want to panic her, but he knew something wasn't right. One small piece in her right ear was loose, halfway sticking out. Maybe that was why she'd felt discomfort. Michael took a slow breath, steadying his hand. He reached in with gentle fingers, careful not to hurt her. Emma watched him nervously. And then the tiny plastic piece slid out. Emma's breath caught. She blinked rapidly, and then a sound escaped her lips. A tiny, shocked gasp. Her hand flew to her mouth. She had heard herself. Michael nearly dropped the device. Emma looked around wildly, touching everything, her shirt, the chair, the table, like she was trying to figure out what sound belonged to what. Then her eyes filled with tears. Michael whispered, instinctively forgetting for a moment who she was. "Emma, can you hear me?" The little girl froze. Then her eyes widened even more. She heard something. Maybe not clearly, but something. Michael's throat tightened with emotion. "You're doing great. It's okay. You're okay." And that's when the door burst open. A woman stood there, a well-dressed woman in a dark business suit, her face pale with shock. Emma's mother. She looked between Michael and her daughter, her expression twisting as if she'd walked in on something impossible. "Emma," she whispered. Emma spun toward the voice her mother gasped. Michael slowly stood up, holding the tiny device between his fingers. I think this was stuck," he said. And when it came out, she reacted. I think she heard something. Her mother's eyes filled instantly. She dropped to her knees and grabbed her daughter in her arms. Emma pulled back slightly and touched her mother's face, her lips trembling. Then she whispered, for the very first time in her life, "Mom." Her mother broke. She cried so hard she couldn't speak, her whole body shaking as she held Emma tight. Michael stepped back, giving them space, feeling like he'd just witnessed a miracle he wasn't worthy of. Later, doctors confirmed it. The prototype devices Benjamin Kingston had placed in Emma's ears as an infant had malfunctioned over time. They blocked natural vibrations instead of helping them. Removing the loose piece triggered her inner ear to respond normally, something no one had expected. As for Benjamin Kingston, he rushed home from a business trip the moment he heard the news. He tried to thank Michael with money, expensive gifts, even a new job offer. But Michael shook his head. "I didn't do anything special," he said quietly. "I just saw a child who needed help." Benjamin stared at him for a long moment, and for the first time in many years, he felt humbled. Because all his wealth, all his inventions, all his power, none of it had given his daughter what this one act of kindness had. A chance to hear. A chance at a real childhood. A chance to say, "Mom." And it had come from the janitor everyone overlooked. In the weeks that followed, Emma learned new sounds every day. Birds. Laughter. Running water. She giggled every time she heard her own footsteps. And every morning, she ran down the hallway to find Michael, just to say hello in her newly discovered voice. Michael always smiled. "Hi, kiddo." Sounds good every time. Because kindness doesn't come from status or fame. It doesn't come from wealth or genius. It comes from people who care enough to pay attention, even when no one else does. So the next time you're walking through your day, remember,